Hello and welcome to our Friday night sport edition of The Drum. I'm Steve Cannane. Coming up, more footballers behaving badly, how a shamed Pakistan cricketer could use the betting scandal to stay in the UK, and holy holograms. Could a rubber bangle really give a footballer 500% more strength? Our panel tonight, Peter Wilkins from ABC Sport, Anthony Sharwood from Alpha Magazine, and in Melbourne, regular contributor to The Drum online, Ben Pobjie. First, the latest on Brendan Fevola. AFL Chief Andrew Demetrio says the league could conduct its own inquiry into the Brisbane full forward if a police investigation doesn't go anywhere. Queensland Police are investigating claims by a mother of four that Fevola exposed himself at a barbecue on the weekend. Lions coach Michael Voss wasn't giving much away at the team's best and fairest count last night.
And do you, as coach, support Brendan?
Yeah, well, of course, until, we've got to make sure that we put the necessary support in place as is, and we'll just let it unfold. And the club's made a statement on that, so we'll just wait and see what happens from there.
Brendan Fevola maintains his innocence and has nothing to hide. Ben Pobjie, obviously he's allowed a presumption of innocence here, but he does have a bit of a rap sheet, doesn't he, Brendan Fevola?
Oh, he's a bit of a lovable scamp, Brendan. I think that's how we all think of him. It's not so much a scandal, it's more like an end-of-season tradition in the AFL. At the end of the year, you have the best and fairest counts, and you have the sort of the end-of-year club trip, and you have Brendan Fevola getting drunk and doing something horrible to some innocent woman. It's like the grand final itself, really. It comes around every year, and it's part of what makes Melbourne so unique.
Now, if he has, if he is not innocent, if he's guilty of this, Anthony, what's the AFL's options here? Are they going to get rid of him?
Well, first of all, I can't believe the AFL are saying if the police investigation goes nowhere, don't worry, we'll do one. Like, if trained detectives from law enforcement can't unearth anything, we footy administrators will set the record straight. So,
but isn't there a point there where something can be criminal and something can be misconduct? The AFL could come in here if he hasn't committed a crime, but they could think it's bringing the game into disrepute.
There are precedents to boot blokes for a year. They did it of course, to Cousins. They could easily boot him for a year. And at this stage of his career, a year is probably forever for Fevola. Wasn't really impressed with the coach's sort of synopsis of the situation. He really seemed keen to wash his hands of it, didn't he?
It wasn't a ringing endorsement, but it is slightly dangerous ground. On one hand, there's a report from a female. On the other hand, there's Fevola, who usually comes out and doesn't he admit to gross acts of stupidity? Here, he has denied it. So
often, though, Wilco, they're captured on camera. Is the problem?
That's right. But at the moment, it is his word against hers. So I don't know. I'm either naive or extremely gullible. I'd prefer to wait until the full facts of the case come out before leaping to absolutely hang him from the yard arm. Admittedly, he is a favourite son in that department. People, as Ben said, do like to put the hand on the shoulder, and he does it himself too. But just this one has a couple of curious twists that might be yet to pan out.
But it's sort of reached the Andrew Simons level though now, hasn't it? Like, nothing that Simons did on its own. You know, he missed a training session because he went fishing because he put the wrong date in his diary. Nothing he did on its own added up to a sackable offence, but it was pick your cliche, the straw that broke the camel's back, and I think that's where Fevs is at now.
Well, Ben, we had the chairman of the Brisbane Lions come out yesterday, Angus Johnson, say respect and responsibility towards women is non-negotiable. Now, surely that should be put up in every football club in Australia?
Well, I think it is probably up in every football club in Australia. I'm just not sure how many people within the football club have the desire or the ability to read it. It's said over and over again, yeah, we respect women, we honour women's place in the game, but in the end, footballers do tend to notice that they're being paid $500,000 a year and worshipped by thousands of fans to do something that women can't do. So there is a tendency among footballers to think, well, maybe we're a bit more special.
Well, there's been another example of bad behaviour in football codes. This time rugby league. The latest incident involved two Roosters rookies, Toyota Cup players Sam Brunton and Anthony Gelling. They'd been sacked by the club after allegedly defecating on the floor and tables in a Townsville hotel. It comes a year after teammate Nate Miles was suspended for 6 matches and fined $50,000 for the same thing. Now, Wilco, this is the third incident I can remember with rugby league involving this kind of behaviour. What is going on?
Well, it's just mind-boggling, really. But before slamming the players, Townsville is the Venus flytrap for football.
Fittler came a cropper there, didn't he?
Is there something about the humidity up there?
Yeah, they go up there, magnetic
They go
island.
troppo?
It's the last game of the season proper up there. So you take your players up there, if you're a manager, or the management, you put them into a room and you just read the riot act to them. Now, the chief executive of the Roosters has come out and said there wasn't alcohol involved. I hope there was alcohol involved.
Yeah, so do I.
Because this is just absolutely disgraceful behaviour.
There's a simple solution here. The puppy dog solution. Surely that's where we have to go. We have to rub their nose in it. It's the only way to go at this point.
I agree with that. I think it's a good one.
Why would some cleaner on $11 an hour? Why should they have to deal with it?
This is just a scant regard for decency, and I'd like to extrapolate on scant the spotlight, cash, adrenaline, and what's N? Notoriety and time. The players have too much of the above, and this is just another episode.
Give us good luck with that then. That was good.
Was it?
Much too much.
And really, they need some guidance here. I mean, these guys, they're soft targets, right? They've been sacked. And in that, you'd say, oh, it's a disgraceful incident, and it is. It's shocking. I mean, you'd almost disown a member of the family if they did something like that. But there has to be some element of guidance, I think, for these players, so they just can't possibly think of going down that
Ben Pobjie, what punishment would you like? Would you like Anthony Sharwood's rub your nose in it kind of punishment?
Well, I don't. The thing is, it's very true. Young players need guidance, but I don't know if when football clubs were sort of devising their systems of support for young players, whether they anticipated the number of young players that would consider this a form of recreation. It's quite unusual. I think Peter's right. It's like they really do have too much time on their hands when they can't think of anything better to do on a night out in Townsville. It's to the extreme edge.
What's wrong with Townsville? Surely there's better things to do than be doing that there. Well, there was a shining example this week of league bad boy turning his life around after a long list of misdemeanours, from drink driving to setting his mate's pants on fire. Todd Carney joined the Roosters and he's had a cracking season. And this week took out 3 awards at the Dally M's, including the big one. Here's some of what he had to say.
My last 12 months probably was well documented and wasn't the nicest, but to be where I am today and the people I've met at the Roosters, and it's been great, and I thank the whole board and Brian to give me the opportunity to play, all the players for sticking by me and giving me a chance to play, and it's been great, and my mother.
Quite a turnaround, Wilco. This is a man who got banned from Goulburn. Something I've never heard of before.
That's right. It's a true boys' own annual story, and a player who's turned it completely around. I mean, on one hand you have Townsville, and then the Todd Carney story, where he's just absolutely turned it around. Recognised that he was an absolute imbecile on the alcohol. Mind you, it took about 6 or 7 episodes, including the police running away from the police, and as you mentioned, Goulburn, and just not really owning up to what it was doing to him. And then, well, he needed to be deregistered, and he went up north.
But he went to North Queensland.
Yeah, he got bashed up there in the street one night. I mean, it's the true story of sort of having it at a young age, being a victim of that spotlight, not being able to handle it, being taken into the fold by his Canberra club. They did a great job with him, and finally, of course, it came to pass he had to leave, and he was deregistered. But then he's come back, and look at this, what a season he's had. It's a terrific story.
Steve, I worked down at the Canberra Times in 2004 when he was just coming through the Raiders' lower grades, and we couldn't print too many stories about this young kid from Goulburn and all the talent that he had. 5 years later, he was completely off the rails for all the reasons you said. This year, at Alpha back in March at the start of the season, it might have been 1 month after, we decided to stick him on the cover of our magazine. And that was a huge gamble at the time because any bad thing could have happened, and we've got this completely useless thing sitting on the magazine, on the news agency shelves for a month. But it worked for us, and it worked. More importantly, his season has worked out for him. And one of the things he talked about in the interview that I did was that he said, look, I was working in this bar in North Queensland, because he worked in a pub, of all places, an alcoholic, worked in a pub, and he saw for the first time with his own eyes the ugliness. And he saw what he himself had become so many times. And he couldn't give me, or anyone, and probably still can't, that steadfast guarantee that he'll never go off the rails again. He's only a young bloke. But he did say, having seen the ugliness, he doesn't want to be that ugly person. And it's great to see it go full circle like this.
Ben?
Should Brendan Fevola get a job in a bar? Maybe that's
too
the
late.
support that Michael Voss was talking about. Yeah.
I think he's on $700,000 a year, isn't he? I don't think he needs to work $15 an hour.
Well, yeah, for now.
Yeah.
But to all intents and purposes, he was gone. But he's only 24. He's lived 40 years in the last 8. So it's a great turnaround.
Yeah. Well, it is getting down to the business end of the NRL season, which Todd Carney will be featuring. And tonight, the Warriors meet the Titans on the Gold Coast. Wilco, can we see an upset here? Could the Warriors knock them off?
It wouldn't be an upset. These two teams have been terrific in the last few weeks. I think they've only lost one of their last 5 or 6 games, 6 games, and in one case 7 games, I think, with the Warriors. So 1 game apiece. They can do anything on a given night. You'd have to go with the Titans, I think, with the Scott Prince factor, although a number of them are carrying these sort of dicky little injuries. So,
Scott Prince is going to have a couple of needles, I think.
Yeah, so it's going to be, it'll be a fascinating game. No surprise with a win either way. The Warriors have got a great away record, so you couldn't discount them.
And you're looking forward to the Tigers match, the Tigers versus the Roosters, Saturday night?
Yeah, I'm a Tigers fan, and they won the premiership in 2005. But apart from that, since the joint venture came together in 2000, this is only their second visit to the finals. And if you're a Balmain fan, as I was, it's only my team's second visit to the finals in about 19 years, Wilco. Unlike you Dragons people who are there every year, except you never win.
That's
But I think the Tigers will win. I think you see it, and Ben would know, you see it a lot in the AFL. The guy who wins the Brownlow, which of course is held rather than is held the week before the grand